Business viewers, Indonesia has come a long way in improving its tax system over the last decade, both in terms of revenues raised and administrative efficiency. Nonetheless, the tax take is still low, given the need for more spending on infrastructure and social protection. It is believed that with the exception of the natural resources sector, increasing tax revenues would be best achieved through broadening tax bases and improving tax administration, rather than changes in the tax schedule that seems broadly in line with international practice. This is MNC Business. We are the first business channel in Indonesia, and you are on Economic Buzz with RSM AAJ. As we know, tax is more than just a source of revenue and growth. It also plays a key role in building up institutions, markets, and democracy through making the state accountable to its taxpayers. Now, just as excessive tax burdens might hinder growth in wealthier countries, in developing economies, a lack of tax structures is a major cause of weak, unresponsive governance. It also leads to an over-reliance on aid with tax. The public now can hold governments to account for their decisions and not feel tied to the will of aid donors. And because tax revenues are relatively predictable, governments can actually and ideally plan ahead with greater certainty. We have the report for you about why tax matters for a nation development. Domestic tax revenues are an essential source of financing our development. However, compared to other key development financing topics such as trade, aid, and debt, taxation has only received limited attention so far. Taxation is the process by which the government imposes charges on citizens and corporate businesses. The charges collected by the government are used to fund different government projects that would, in the end, benefit the citizens of the country as a whole. The taxation process can benefit both the society and business as a whole. Taxation is important to society because the government uses the tax collected to fund projects related to healthcare systems, education systems, and public transport. Also, the money collected can also be used to give employment benefits, pensions, and other matters that can benefit the society. Without the tax, the government would not be able to fund the essential projects and services that people need. The government allocates the money collected from the taxpayers to different areas of the country. The areas picked are rural areas. Some rural areas may have resources that might be beneficial for both the country and its economy. Therefore, the government will allocate part of the tax money to provide the essential services required and to improve the standards of such places. Other important role taxation has is it can affect the rate of economic growth of a country. Although taxation may discourage investors from investing in a country with strict tax rules, however, both the positive and negative effect of tax will be offset, and thus only a very small result will be noticed. In developing countries, tax contributes to almost about 10% of the gross domestic product of the national economy, thus resulting in a good economic growth. MNC Business Research Team for Economic Buzz MNC Business Channel. We would like to greet you business people in Singapore. You're on Economic Buzz, the English talk show program that outlook the economic and social issue for your business plan. Now we are discussing about the importance of tax for a nation development. We have Mr. Irwan Afiff as the senior partner at RSM AAJ. Don't forget, we are also now airing through our live streaming through www.sindonews.com. Pak Irwan, thank you so much for your time. And thank you also for sharing the courtesy of the profile of the RSM in a global world. We talk about RSM as the audit, tax and advisory firms, and it has happened that RSM AAJ is part of it. First of all, maybe you can share to our business viewers who are still not really familiar with the word RSM AAJ. What is RSM AAJ?
Okay. RSM AAJ is basically an organization that was set up back in 1985. We mainly provide professional services in audit, tax, and various advisories such as corporate finance, governance, risk management, and we've been doing this for quite some time. Now, we become a member of RSM International back in 1993, and at that time, RSM International was searching for members from in a number of countries, including Indonesia. So they did their research. They meet with a number of similar organizations as us in Indonesia, and then they also conduct some due diligence, checking out how good we are and so on. And we were appointed to become an exclusive member for RSM International in Indonesia. So that is basically RSM. RSM is actually now ranked number 6 on a worldwide basis as an organization doing audit, tax and advisory. So it's been good. It's been good thing for us. We've developed together in Indonesia, and now we are looking into continuing to work together with RSM.
I see.
In the future, yeah.
I believe it's also a prestige and privilege for AAJ to be embraced by RSM Global, because as you said, it's globally it's very reputable. It's like ranked 6 in the world in terms of service. Speaking about professional services, what kind of big changes has been brought up ever since RSM AAJ been established in Indonesia? Because we talk about improving the professional services through our audit, tax and advisory firms operating here in Indonesia.
By becoming a member of RSM International, we are required to have certain quality control in our services. There are some measurement which RSM do for their member firms in all countries. So on a regular basis, they come to our office and visit and see our services, our product, whether it's in line with international standards, and they do training as well. And I think the most important thing is by becoming a member of an international firm, we become exposed to international companies, meaning there are clients of other RSM member firm who got interest or who got business in Indonesia, need the same services. we can provide them with the same services as is in their country. And also vice versa. We have local domestic Indonesian clients who need to be assisted in other countries, and in that case we can just introduce this company to RSM member in the other countries, and they will take care of our clients. So,
do you give this kind of similar approaches or strategy by the time you are giving assistance, either from the domestic and also for your global partner or clients? Do approach came differently or?
The approach is a bit different. I mean, it depends on which country you're working with.
Yeah.
There are some countries who got a very complicated tax environment, for example, or audit environment, and there are some countries who have a tax system that is very similar to Indonesia, for example. So it depends on the complexity of their regulations.
Mr. Irwan, this is very interesting. It brings me to this kind of a particular major question remaining among us. Speaking about tax environment, what kind of tax environment are we living in now by the time we are talking about Indonesia and giving Indonesia context when we talk about this kind of taxation issue?
Okay, I believe Indonesia has done a major improvement since 1984 on the tax system in Indonesia, because before 1984 our tax revenue is very low. We rely heavily on other state income or even on foreign assistance, and it somehow slowed down the development of the countries. Now, back in the mid-80s, the government and the authorities realized that we need to do something about tax system so we can develop further without so much relying on other countries or other revenue. So in the mid-80s, they changed totally the tax system from the old one, which is basically ancient at that time.
Yeah.
I think since then it's been progressing very good. There's a lot of challenges that still need to be made, to be faced, but I think in the last 20 years or so, we have been more independent in terms of self-financing the development of the countries. As mentioned earlier, infrastructure development, public services, health services, education.
It's also progressing.
Yes, it's progressing quite nicely, and it relies basically on the Indonesia own resources, which is the tax.
Agree.
So that's how I see it.
I guess it is obviously pretty fair by the time we are giving credit to our government. Moreover, you said based on the latest data and finding, ever since 1984, our tax system is actually improving.
Yes.
But why is it, sir, now even closing to 2015, it is rarely heard by Indonesian people, Indonesian society, especially through media, that tax is already reached its optimum level in terms of giving contribution toward our economic development. Moreover, based on the input given by RSM AAJ, you are suggesting us to bring the issue theme about talking about tax and its contribution toward national economic competitiveness level. Why is it? What is in your personal view on this?
Yeah, I believe the Indonesian tax has contributed a major amount to the total spending of the government. And the total spending from year to year has been increasing significantly. Now we can probably say that about 80% of our spending is financed by tax.
Tax 80%, 80, yeah?
Somewhere between 75 and 80, because I got sort of like different figures from different sources, but it's about that range.
And actually that ratio is pretty significant.
Yes, it's very significant.
Yes, Pak Irwan, if you don't mind, maybe we can continue for the later session. Thank you so much for the good start. More on the discussion about the importance of tax for a nation development will be brought to you soon. Stay with us on Economic Buzz with RSM AAJ. Watch our live streaming on sindonews.com. On business and economic update news first. Rice price in some areas is reported to have an increase by about 30%. Chairman of Perpadi stated that the increased price of rice has been happening even since January 9th, 2015. At times, state logistics company Perumbulok stops its market operation.
Rice price in the market is reported to be increasing by 30%. Chairman of the Regional Leadership Council, Indonesia Rice Milling and Rice Entrepreneurs Association, Nelly Sukiri stated that the increased price of rice has been happening since January 9th, 2015. At times, state logistic company Perumbulok stopped its market operation. According to Nellis, the market needs 2,500 to 3,000 tons of rice every day, while the supply is only 1,000 tons. Due to the lack supply, it leads into the increased price.
Pada prinsipnya, sebenarnya kenaikan harga ini terjadi mulai tanggal 9 Januari di saat operasi pasar berhenti. Karena kita harus akui bahwa di Cipinang ini transaksi setiap hari itu kebutuhan itu 2.500 sampai 3.000 ton per hari. Sekarang pasokan tuh hanya 1.000. Berarti kan sepertiganya. Otomatis harga melambung tinggi.
As it has been known, Perumbulok is doing a market intervention to the end user instead of doing it in the market. Moreover, aside from the market intervention, which is considered to be missing the target, the harvest season, which is not coming yet, is mentioned to be also the reason for the lack supply of rice in the market. Jakarta, Ayos Carlos, MNC Business.
Still on the related issue, in 2015, Indonesia is predicted to have rice crisis in some areas. Albeit the rice would still be in the market, the price will be bubbled. The matter is caused by rice fields that are getting smaller, which would affect, for sure, national rice production.
Government's plan for rice self-sufficiency is stated to not be able to be realized. It is even predicted that in 2015, Indonesia will be suffering with rice crisis in some areas. Vice Chairman of Regional Leadership Council, Indonesia Rice Milling and Rice Entrepreneurs Association, Billy Haryanto explained that Indonesia is currently having a lack supply of rice, even though Agriculture Ministry was once expressed the optimism that national rice supply will be surplus this year.
Kalau nggak cetak sawah di luar Jawa, nggak mungkin surplus. Dan saya katakan pasti 2015 krisis beras. Alasannya sekarang panen, Demak sudah panen 70% udah habis. Biasanya Demak itu pertama kali panen dan harga jatuh. Nah sekarang Demak harga 11.000, nggak wajar.
In order to prevent the rice crisis, it is suggested that government will provide land to be planted by rice. Previously, government once planned to have 1 million hectares of land to support agriculture sector. Thus, it is expected that government will be able to realize the plan as soon as possible. Jakarta, Ayos Carlos, MNC Business.
Back on Economic Buzz, this program can also be viewed through StarHub Asia Channel 121 and MNC International. Both channels are in Singapore with me, Erwin Suryabrata. We still have Mr. Irwan Afiff as the senior partner at RSM AAJ. Okay, we both agree that basically ever since 1984, 80-something, we have this kind of tax system improvement. I would like to ask your standpoint, where is your stake when people still strongly believe making this statement, Pak Irwan, that tax revenue somehow in Indonesia still considered so low, even by the time we start comparing to our neighboring countries within the region? What is your opinion?
Yeah, I think it's true that I believe the tax revenue in Indonesia is still quite low. And when I say this, we have to look into the complexity of Indonesia. Indonesia is a very large country. And development is not really well distributed. You can see major differences in Java and in other areas. So the homework to build infrastructure and also public facilities or public service facilities is huge, and to do so we need a lot of fund to be able to develop those areas. So I do think compared to what needs to be done, what the country receives in terms of tax, it's very low. Yes.
Well, by the time we are getting the essence of this discussion in terms of increasing the awareness among the society, before we talk about the corporate world, on your view, what should we understand actually as the common people, as the Indonesian citizens, about the importance of tax and its contribution on our nation development? Because cannot be avoided. Sometimes it's all coming from our awareness as the citizens, right? Why should I pay tax? What will I get in return?
Yeah, I think that's one of the complexity that I mentioned before. Indonesia, with the structure of the countries, the region, it's very difficult for an Indonesian taxpayer to pay tax and then see the result immediately. We Indonesian, for example, if we go to Europe, go to London or Switzerland, we can see how the public service are operated there, from transportation, health. It's all first class, and it's paid from the tax paid by the people. And indeed, in those area, tax rate for individual can reach 35%, 40%, or even more than 40%. Now, I'm not suggesting that we should go
on the similar rates as well, 35%.
But it shows that the tax revenue determine really the quality of a nation. Now, again, why it's low? It's probably because here in Indonesia, it's a bit difficult for people to relate the tax that they have paid and the service they receive. And I haven't seen much of a socialization in terms of when we build something like an infrastructure or a good public facilities, the government announce or communicate to the people, to the taxpayer, that this is a project actually funded by the tax that
this particular project is like basically coming from your tax.
In general, probably people know, but Indonesia have additional complexity, like the different stages of development in different areas within Indonesia. So in Jakarta, probably you can see the toll road, the flyover, the
so
underpass,
representative,
the hospitals and so on. But I sort of like, maybe like you, I was sort of like wondering, what about people in rural area? They pay tax and maybe they don't see much of what they pay become in terms of facilities.
Interesting point. You made a lot through this segmentation, Mr. Irwan. So one thing for sure we can note here from the demographic aspect itself, it's super challenging for Indonesia, right? Not to mention also about this kind of national acceleration of this kind of national development as well. We're going to continue after this one, sir. Make sure you are still with us on Economic Buzz. We are going to discuss more about the importance of tax for a nation development with RSM AAJ. Don't forget to watch our live streaming. Another business update news for you. Government is preparing new fiscal incentive with expectation it could boost investment realization. As it has been known, government has already given incentives of tax allowance and tax holiday for investors. However, according to Investment Coordinating Board, the incentives are not enough in attracting the investors to invest in the country.
Ministry of Finance was revising the ministry's regulation on fiscal incentive for investors with expectation it could increase investment realization in the country. As it has been known, Investment Coordinating Board once stated that the incentive of tax allowance for investors is not giving significant result towards investment realization. Meanwhile, the coordinating Minister for Economy explained that the incentive wouldn't be given to every investors. mentioned that there will be criteria which the ministry could consider whether the investor will deserve the incentive.
Kalau nggak salah modal minimum berapa? 100 miliar menciptakan lapangan kerja, kemudian kita ingin mendapatkan teknologi. Jadi banyak kriteria baru tech allowance bisa diberikan.
Dampaknya terhadap pertumbuhan dan
oh iya itu bagus kan, karena misalnya sekarang ini misalnya handphone kita ini masih kita import lengkap. Kalau bisa membuat industri dalam negeri, ini kan menciptakan nilai tambah, menciptakan lapangan kerja.
For information, investors are still rarely using fiscal incentive facilities which are provided by the government. This is due to complicated regulations applied that investors are hesitant to take the incentive and decided not to have their investment realized in Indonesia. From Jakarta, Raharjo Patmo, MNC Business.
Moving to the other information, business viewers, Financial Services Authority admitted their plan on developing the roadmap for sustainable finance imposed last December. Therefore, in order to develop the roadmap, the authority has about 3 main strategies so the roadmap could be implemented well to financial institutions.
Roadmap for Sustainable Finance imposed by Financial Services Authority on December 2014 is going to develop further. The roadmap is done in order to increase the society's awareness of financial institutions. Moreover, the effort in developing sustainable finance will be synergized with the development plan in priority economic sectors, such as infrastructure, energy, and agriculture. Therefore, coordination among related ministries will be needed. Chairman of the Financial Services Board of Commissioners, Mulyaman Haddad, explained that the 3 strategies FSA made to develop the sustainable finance are including to increase the amount of financing supply, the demand, and the supervision for sustainable finance.
Prospek keuangan berkelanjutan dikembangkan berdasarkan 3 strategi utama, yakni pertama, peningkatan suplai keuangan berkelanjutan, yang kedua, dukungan untuk menciptakan demand atau permintaan atas keuangan berkelanjutan, dan ketiga, upaya pengawasan penerapan keuangan berkelanjutan.
Mulyaman added that the supervision for sustainable finance will be the main priority in line with the effort to create stability in Indonesia's financial system. Moreover, he emphasized on the prudent activities in financial industry. Jakarta, Gilang Praditya, MNC Business.
You are still with us on Economic Buzz. We still bring our discussion about the importance of tax for a nation development with RSM AAJ. You can log on into the homepage, the official homepage of RSM AAJ here in Indonesia at www.rsmaaj.com, right? They can just get another more detailed information. How can actually I get product and services by RSM AAJ? Well, speaking about RSM AAJ as well, before we talk more about your strategic role here in Indonesia, as we discussed early on, the tax system is already there, everything is already settled, the regulation is also in place. Now the time for us to improve and chase and realize the target. Everyone needs to be aggressively chase this target, right? But Pak Irwan, apart from so many opportunities that we have, challenges is remain there before our face, right? The tax office, let's say, this is the information I would like to share also, often even fails to detect this kind of tax evasion, another issue appearing. So lost tax revenue is very rarely identified in our nation, let alone recovered. Now, why do you think this kind of issue is continuously happen? What needs to be changed so people can have much more better perception or image about the taxation in Indonesia?
Okay, I think to change the perception on the image, I think the tax office should have more consultative session with taxpayers, especially the corporate, taxpayer, and also especially when they want to make changes to the regulation. I think it's too often that the tax office make changes in regulation. It's probably actually a good changes, but because they don't communicate earlier with the taxpayers, it become an issue that might arrive because the taxpayer doesn't know the background of those changes, or probably also doesn't really understand the changes itself. So by more communication between the tax office and the taxpayer or the corporate taxpayer, I think the tax office will end up with providing or producing better policy, and it will be more accepted by the corporate taxpayer. Now, regarding your question on the tax evasion, that is
always occurring,
rarely identified, I think the tax system actually already have tools to what do you call it, to detect tax evasion, to penalize them, and so on and so on. But probably in the last 10 years, the enforcement is quite weak.
Agreed.
And I think one of the reasons is I think the tax office doesn't have enough resources to take care of all the tax issue in Indonesia.
That's right.
When they're doing tax audit, often they do like an early quick audit and decide that this is wrong, penalized, but they don't do a careful analytical, because an error can be just an administrative error because taxpayer forget or fail or misunderstood the regulation,
or they skip the details. Sometimes it's pretty confusing.
Or it can become it is a planned error, so they don't
planned error. No, that's one thing I need to underline. Right?
So they don't have to pay this amount of tax or try to reduce the.
Getting more interesting.
Yes,
but I'm afraid we must move to the other segment.
Yes,
Pak Irwan, if you don't mind, maybe we can hold on. Economic Buzz will be back soon with more from Mr. Irwan Afiff. He is the senior partner at RSM AAJ. This is MNC Business Channel. Another business and economic update news for you. Business viewers, Financial Services Authority would develop insurance products for disasters. Considering, geographically speaking, Indonesia tends to have natural disaster to occur. Now, Chairman of Commissioners Board of FSA stated that the insurance product will be included in the group of micro insurance.
Authority will develop insurance products for disaster, considering Indonesia a geographical condition which is in the area of ring of fire or area with tendency for natural disaster to occur.
Dan itu kan selama ini baru untuk yang demam berdarah, terus asuransi jiwa ya, yang saya pikir konsep asuransi mikro pada dasarnya mesti terus kita dorong. Tetapi kemudian dalam konteks itu kita juga ingin memperdalam bagaimana asuransi bencana.
Mulyaman Haddad stated that in the product development, FSA will be looking at Japan, which already has an insurance for disaster. The insurance will be having a statistical data about the disaster damage so that it could be detected of how much should be covered by the insurance. Furthermore, Mulyaman Haddad added that the insurance product will be included in the group of micro-insurance with premium fund of 20 to 50,000 rupiah. Aside from insurance for disaster, FSA is also preparing insurance for agriculture or crops insurance. With all those new products, FSA expected that it could increase society welfare in the future. Jakarta, Anissa Nidia and Ilham Zarkasih, MNC Business.
On the corporate news, still from insurance industry, PT Adira Insurance sees the limitation of 80% foreign ownership in national insurance industry is not relevant. The firm even has an opinion that the industry is already quite strong and able to compete with foreign insurance companies here in Indonesia.
The limitation of 80% foreign ownership national insurance industry is seen not relevant by PT Adira Insurance. Adira sees local insurance companies are quite strong to compete with foreign insurance companies in Indonesia. President Director of PT Adira Insurance Indra Baruna explained that the regulator, in this case Financial Services Authority, needs to prepare qualified human resources so they could compete with foreign insurance companies' human resources.
Jadi sebetulnya gunakanlah situasi ini atau kondisi yang ada seperti ini untuk bagaimana kita meningkatkan terus kemampuan kita untuk bersaing. Ya, bagaimanapun juga nantinya persaingan itu akan datang. Ekonomi semakin terbuka, saatnya akan datang. Lebih baik kita sudah mempersiapkan diri dari jauh-jauh hari.
Indra added that the challenge national insurance industry has to face this year would be to intensively increase the market penetrations. This matter is because market penetration for insurance industry in Indonesia is still low compared to other Asian countries. Previously, Financial Service Authority officially socialized Law No. 40/2014 regarding insurance. The law could be the milestones for insurance industry because it contains new aspects such as supervision and development of insurance industry. Jakarta, Gilang Praditya, MNC Business.
You're watching Economic Buzz. We still have Mr. Irwan Afiff. He is the senior partner at RSM AAJ to share his view over the topic that we bring up in this talk show. And we also advise you to go visit the RSM AAJ official homepage at www.rsmaaj.com. Pak Irwan, so in our previous discussion, you are suggesting and you are implying that basically it doesn't necessarily mean that our taxpayers have very low awareness in terms of being a good citizens of Indonesia. They are simply not well equipped with a set of information that this is it. This is what I need to know more about the taxation in Indonesia. Who should responsible the most then, sir, when we talk about improving our related government bodies regarding to this area?
Okay, well, first we have to understand that tax revenue resulted not only from the effort of the tax office.
Yeah.
Conducive business environment will also help increase the tax revenue. So I think a lot of government agency will have to do something to make sure that the business environment is conducive for investors to do business. And again, I stress that maybe the tax office will need to do more PR things in terms of communicating the importance of paying tax for the nation, for the people, and for individual everywhere in Indonesia. Now we have. I think in the last 10 years, when I said starting mid-80s that the government is encouraging people to pay tax, they encourage through a lot of PR, but only up to the stage where please pay your tax. This is for the sake of the nation, but the detail of what is the benefit that they will get, it's rarely known, especially if you talk about people outside the big cities. You know, they will probably first question come up with them when they are asked to pay taxes. What for? And,
yes, the biggest things need to be covered in terms of giving them the best answer is like what will they get in return. And if I may requote your statement, this is a very strong, powerful statement that it's time for the tax officer as well as the government-related body to PRing themselves. So we as the society understand about that they are here to help actually. After this one, we are going to talk more about RSM AAJ strategic role. Okay. Make sure you are still with us. We still have one more session on Ebuzz discussing about the importance of tax for a nation development with RSM AAJ. Last business news from the component industry. Business viewers, Indonesian Automotive Parts and Components Industries Association predicted the growth of the industry would only reach about 3 to 5% by the end of this 2015. It is because the market of spare parts and components industries are influenced by vehicle sales.
The growth of automotive spare parts and components industry is predicted to be reaching 3 to 5% by the end of 2015. The prediction is made by considering the sales trend of vehicles this year, which is projected to be stagnant, following the industry's market share, which is not increasing. As it has been known, Indonesian Automotive Manufacturers Association or GAIKINDO is predicting that car sales this year would be 1.2 million units or 2014. Meanwhile, Indonesia Motorcycle Manufacturers Association or IC predicted that motorcycle sales would be the same with 2014, which is 7.9 million units. Chairman of Indonesian Automotive Parts and Components Industries Association or GIAM, Hamdani explained the market of spare parts and components industries are influenced by vehicle sales. Thus, whether the vehicle sales is reported to be stagnant, then the spare parts and components industry's growth would also be stagnant.
Kalau di OEM mau nggak mau pertumbuhan mereka akan tergantung kepada pertumbuhan OEM, di mana di 2 tahun belakangan ini boleh dikatakan bahwa OEM-nya cenderung untuk stagnan. Nah, kalau di aftermarket, nah ini yang kita kesulitan juga dengan masalah data, cuman kami perkirakan paling tidak ada pertumbuhan 3-5%.
Based on the data, car produced in Indonesia 60 to 80% has been using local components, while the remaining is using imported components. For motorcycles, it has been using almost 100% of local components. Jakarta, Olena Wibisana, MNC Business.
We have reached our last segment discussing about the importance of tax for nation development with RSM AAJ. Mr. Irwan, for this closing segment, I would like to ask you more about what has been done by RSM AAJ here in terms of assisting, especially our corporate world, in terms of optimizing their corporate tax to contribute toward national economic development.
Yeah, we've been serving a lot of different clients. For tax services, I can probably say that we got a group of companies who are very careful. They appoint us as a consultant from the planning stage. They ask us to do the compliance thing, just to make sure that all their taxation is okay. There are another type of group that they come to us when they face problem.
Only when by the time they're in crisis.
Yeah. So if they, for example, they got a tax audit and then they face the tax office and they want to appeal to that, they have problem, they come to us for services, and then we can represent them to deal with the tax office. And also some of them even worse, they come to us at the court stage, the tax court stage. So they already fight in the tax office level and then they have to go to court. So we provide those kind of services, and also we provide tax planning in terms of for international or global transaction. For example, if a foreign company want to acquire an Indonesian company, they want to see what's the tax implication of that transaction. We also serve clients for transfer pricing. This is normally required by a group of companies that are established in different kind of countries. So we practically provide full range of tax services for our clients.
I see. Before we close up our talk show, on your brief, quick thought, what needs to be done by us in terms in synergizing either from the individual taxpayers, corporate world, and the government bodies? Together, we can reach the target needed by this nation.
Yeah. I think there has to be a good communication between all parties. The tax office should regularly consult with the business player in terms of the transaction that they do, and the tax office need to have more people who understand business process, understand what they call it, the nature of market that the industry is in. Some market goes like up and down all the time, some goes up all the way and then suddenly down.
They should have a strong sense of this.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Irwan Afiff, you are the senior partner at RSM AAJ, audit, tax and advisory firms as the part of RSM Global. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Best luck for you. My best regard to your teamwork, sir.
Thank you.
And that's wrap up our talk show for this time. Hope to have you soon in the next Economic Buzz with other issues to bring up in the discussion. I'm Erwin Surya Brata, wishing you best luck in doing your business today. Let's talk about your business in Ebuzz on your MNC business. We are the first business channel in Indonesia. We are also now on live streaming on www.sindonews.com.